What is up everyone, today I'll be showcasing one of the best leads to run in the Evolution Cup, Charjabug. Charjabug has a bug electric typing and I'll be running it with Spark, Crunch and Discharge today. You could also consider running X-Scissor on it instead, but I like this moveset because it gives it a lot of play versus common meta threats such as Dusclops, Haunter, Vigoroth, Golbat and Celio, which you can all beat. Now, Charjabug isn't like amazing versus all of those Pokemon because it generally just gets outpaced, so they still have a lot of play versus Charjabug. But at the very least, Charjabug will win the Zero Shields versus all the Pokemon I just mentioned, which means that if you meet them in the lead, you can either win that lead or set up a shield advantage for your back line, which could be huge as well. Charjabug struggles really hard versus Alolan Graveler, which we're gonna see in his first game in a second here, and Dragon, so my backline will cover for that, which is why I'm running Hakamo as like a dragon that can beat other dragons, and Alolan Graveler, and then Vigoroth. We're just fine versus both of them. Vigoroth isn't like amazing versus dragons, but it's a very good generalist, and it's kind of almost necessary in this Evolution Cup. You could also consider running Celio instead of Vigoroth for some extra dragon coverage, but Celio is weak to Vigoroth, and since basically everyone is running a Vigoroth on their line, I prefer just having nothing weak to opposing Vigoroth on my team, which is why I went with my own. Anyway, we're gonna head into these battles starting with an Alolan Graveler. Not great, I pivot into my Vigoroth. I would say that would generally be your pivot in this line, as it's not likely to get hard countered in this Evolution Cup meta, or should I say Vigoroth Cup meta, because that's kind of what it has become. We actually see a Vigoroth come into my own Vigoroth here because apparently that's their best counter to Vigoroth. That's kind of fair since there aren't really many. I was actually hoping to flip switch here, but my opponent makes kind of a smart move by not throwing any charge moves, just double shielding, and now he can just fully farm down my Vigoroth and keep switch, but I'm fine with this. Charjabug isn't like super tanky, but should be able to take 2 of these body slams at least, maybe even the 3rd if they don't get too many counters in. Yeah, I think I still barely survive this. And then I just bring in Hakamo-o and hope Hakamo-o can sweep. Have a Dusclops in the back. Not the best matchup for Hakamo-o since they do have Ice Punch, but with 2 shields up, I should be alright. There's still no Alolan Graveler in the back though, which might still get to a couple moves, or at least 1 move versus my Hakamo-o. Which are all resisted. All the moves Graveler can throw at Hakamo are resisted, but a Stone Edge still really hurts, so could still be quite bad. They've thrown 7 hexes so far, which means it's 3 more hexes for the next Ice Punch, so I'm gonna make sure I throw on CMP here to get the maximum amount of energy on my Hakamo to throw it at Alolan Graveler later. Take out the Dusclops. In comes the Alolan Graveler now. I'm gonna go for the Brick Break immediately here on nice timing to get some damage off. Brick Break, not really a strong move though, so I'm not gonna bring it that low. Now, this Graveler will get to the move right here. They try to catch my move, but I don't let it happen. I think the Stone Edge would kill, so I catch the Stone Edge on my Charjabug right here, and this will win me the game. Now they have no more energy, and I'm free to just go for this Brick Break right here. They know it's over, they concede the match, GG. Next up, we see a Hakamo in the lead. Very bad for Charjabug. Other dragons are kind of fine, so you can crunch him, and it does a decent chunk of damage, but Hakamo resists every single move Charjabug can throw at you, so that's not great. Bring in my Vigoroth though, because even though Hakamo is a fighting type, you have a pretty okay matchup here. Generally, you'll lose it, but we'll be able to bring the Hakamo quite low. They throw a Brick Break, I shield it, and then they bring in their own Vigoroth, which I'm just going to hit with a Body Slam right now. Doesn't get shielded, that's fine with me. I barely get to another Body Slam right here. My Vigoroth is like slightly higher attack than most, so I win the CMP, which is huge because they actually threw and now I took their shield and I wasted all their energy, so that's looking pretty good for me. Gonna bring in my Charjabug right here just to eat all of this energy. At this point my Charjabug is kind of useless, so because the Hakamo is still there, so I feel fine just taking that energy, farming down. Even if they had gone to another Body Slam, would have been fine with me. I expect their Hakamo to come in there. I go for a Crunch. I should have just gone for Discharge, honestly. It does more than Crunch, but I was really hoping for a debuff, but we don't get it. And now my Dragon Tail barely doesn't knock it out, which isn't great. And they bring in a Celio, which is quite bad as well. Hakamo actually doesn't have the worst matchup versus Celio, though. If I can call a Body Slam here, I might actually be able to win the 1 shield. Actually, that's only the case on like even health and energy start, but since they already got a Dragon Tail off onto my Hakamo, this is it's not so good. So I should just let that go and hope I can farm this down with my Charjabug at this point. It's not looking too good. But my opponent actually ends up making a massive mistake. And they throw the Aurora Beam, which allows me to farm down the Celio right now and start discharging to knock out the next Pokemon Hakamo-o. Yeah, I think they have a move, but might win CMB here. So we get off a discharge. This knocks out the Hakamo-o. GG's. Another Hakamo-o lead. That's quite bad for Charjabug. Again, I have to instant switch out into my Vigoroth. You know, maybe Charjabug isn't as good of a lead as I'm making it out to be. But I got quite unlucky with the leads, I'd say. I faced far more dragons than I usually do. Actually, the day before I started leading Charjabug, I was leading Celio. I barely saw any dragons, so that's why I felt safe leading Charjabug. But yeah, now the meta has just changed, and it seems to be a lot of dragons. So hopefully, if any of you try it out, there won't be as many. Even though I faced like a lot of dragons in the lead though, I still went very positive with this line. So still, it is fine. This team has a lot of play. Hakamo-o, definitely the hardest lead though, since you can't really crunch it either with Charjabug. I found Dragonair to be much more manageable for sure, since you'll be able to crunch it as well. I guess Zwite is a problem too, because I'm not running X-Scissor. Zwite is in the lead, extremely rare, I'd say. Anyway, we're gonna discharge this Hakamo-o, just get some chip off. So my own Hakamo-o has more play. Gonna shield up their Dragon Claw here. Because this would do a ton of damage, of course. Next up, they bring in the Vigoroth. Now, Vigoroth versus Hakamo-o is generally in favor for Hakamo-o, but I'm already so low on health, or not on health, on shields. I'm on shield down. I've already lost some health. My Charjabug has already lost some health, so this is not looking too good. But maybe I'll be able to, if I can Brick Break this and then switch out to Charjabug, I might have been fine. But Vigoroth is so squishy, so to get to another Body Slam, I'm deep into the red now. I just get off my Brick Break, and now it's looking to be pretty much over. I gotta like farm up a ton of energy on Charjabug if I want any chance of winning this. Actually, I think if this discharge knocks out, I might have a shot, because then I'll be able to discharge the Hakamo-o and maybe take him out with their Dragon Tail later. But the discharge just barely doesn't knock out. They get to the Body Slam, and that's definitely game over. This is one of the downsides of Charjabug. Discharge just isn't a very strong move, so it doesn't do a lot of damage. It does way less than you want it to be. Okay, finally, a great lead, or a good lead. Celio, of course, a winning lead for Charjabug. Definitely not like a very dominant matchup though. We're already in the yellow because of that Body Slam. This discharge will barely knock him out. So you do survive with a bunch of health, but actually start shielding this. And my opponent is actually going to bring this down to the 2-shield scenario. And like Charjabug does win the matchup, but it's pretty tight. I'm making sure they don't really catch a move here, so throwing at a weird timing to make sure they can't. This will take another shield from my opponent. And as you can see, we're deep into the red, and my opponent actually ends up making a big mistake. They don't know their Chargerbug counts. They end up over farming, CMP tying with me instead of throwing the Body Slam before, and that allows my Chargerbug to take out the Celio and save a shield. In comes a Vigoroth. I go for another crunch, and I get no debuff. I should have gone Discharge, but this is actually one of the later games I played, and I was going crazy. I had thrown like 7 crunches already without getting any debuffs, which is wild because it's like a 30% chance move. But I was just getting no debuffs all day. So it got to a point where I was just throwing crunches when I should be throwing Discharge just to see if I would get a debuff. But I think I ended up throwing like 10 crunches without getting a debuff, which is kind of wild. It was kind of crazy. I don't know what the odds are of that happening. I'm sure it's not that low, but it just felt a bit, yeah, it felt bad. But, you know, most of the matches where I didn't get the debuff didn't really matter anyway, so I was okay with it. This game as well, even though I didn't get the debuff, I should still be looking pretty good. My Hakamo-o farms down to Dusclops. I will be able to get a Brick Break off on their Vigoroth, and then my Vigoroth should be able to take out theirs. Right? Yeah. Oh, actually, Brick Break takes him out. GG's. Alright, Dragonair lead, not too great. Bring in Vigoroth. Normally I'd say you'd want to throw the Body Slam instantly, because then you get there before they get to a charge move and you take a shield, usually. Or let it go, you get a bunch of health off on the Dragonair. But I've had ghost types in the back of Dragonair, they would try to catch the body slam on their ghost type, which is also not ideal. So what I'm doing now is I'm just farming up to 6 and throwing then, because that would be a weird time to catch. So at that point, I don't expect to catch anymore. They're bringing the Vigoroth now, and I think this is where not having a very high ranked Vigoroth cost me a bit, because if I had more HP, I would have gotten to another body slam there. But I didn't. They were able to farm me down fully and get off 2 body slams versus my Charjabug. Not ideal, but I'll hopefully be able to crunch the Dragonair, bring it quite low with that, hopefully. Yeah, it's probably gonna come in, right? Yeah, in comes the Dragonair. Gonna go for the crunch. Bring in my Hakamo afterwards to start doing some Dragon Tail damage. Oh, we actually got a defense drop there. Might have missed that. Oh, man. But it didn't matter since they switched out anyway. Anyway, I gotta no-shield this. If they body slam bait me, I'm dead. But yeah, it's an Aurora Beam. So good call by my opponent. But even if I shielded that, it would have been bad. Because I think they reached another Aurora Beam anyway. So it was just game over. GG's. Alright, Haunter lead. This is fine. It's not an amazing matchup by any means. But again, most of these matchups, you just win the zeros with Charjabug. And then you set up the rest of your team. I actually decided to switch out into Dusclops though, which I'm fine with. Charjabug is like my best matchup here. Actually, they're running Feint Attack, which means Hakamo is fine too. They shouldn't kill my Charger. Oh, shoot, actually. Interesting. I don't think they would have killed. But I'm also quite sure I get to do crunches here before they get to a move. So I'm fine with doing that. And they should knock out the Dusclops. If they want to save their Dusclops, they're going to have to use 2 shields, which they don't want to. They let me take out their Dusclops. What comes in next? Maybe the Haunter again? Haunter comes in next. Go for another crunch. This will knock out, so we're probably going to see a shield here. Do see a shield. No debuff. No debuff. In comes Hakamo. Gonna start Dragon Tailing this. All these Dragon Tail users or Dragon Breath users just chunk Haunter so much. It can barely get to 2 moves usually. It's definitely not gonna get to 2 moves versus Hakamo. So they switch out into the Vigoroth. This is fine. I'm just gonna chip it with 1 Brick Break. Bring in my Vigoroth. And at this point it's still kind of scary. If they bring my Vigoroth low enough to where the Haunter can farm down and get to a move versus my Hakamo, it's kind of scary. So I actually don't throw my move, but that might be a mistake. Well, actually, that's not a mistake. That's fine. But I threw another counter. If they would have undercharged that body slam there and gotten my Vigoroth low enough to where they could farm down with Haunter before I get to 2 body slams, I might have been in a tough spot. But luckily they didn't, and I'm able to farm down with Hakamo. GG's. Next up, we see a Shadow Dragonair lead. Now, normally I'd suggest you switch to Vigoroth here, but my opponent's actually someone I faced a couple days prior, and I remembered they had a Chansey in their line, so I switched to Hakamo, knowing that I need to save my Vigoroth for the Chansey, but I actually didn't remember their third at first, but when I was in that matchup, I remembered, oh yeah, it's Vigoroth. So the game's basically over right then and there. There's no way I'm beating that line. So I just concede, not wanting to waste like 5 more minutes of my life in a Chansey matchup. So we're just going to move on to the next game here. Laron into Charjabug. Now this is not a bad matchup at all, but they're staying in. And I don't really want to take a Rock Slide on my Charjabug, so switch onto the Hakamo. But they end up bringing in a Razor Leafer versus my Hakamo, which is kind of wild, since that is definitely not an answer to Hakamo. Do a Dragon Claw. Farm it all the way down. It must be Laron double Razor Leaf is what I'm thinking, since there's no way you bring in Gloom versus Hakamo if you don't have another Razor Leafer in the back. They're probably running like Evolution Cup Grass Hold. Kind of funny, not gonna lie. Now, I didn't really count Metal Claws. I don't know the counts for Metal Claws, so I ended up making a big mistake and not throwing my Brick Break there, allowing them to get to another Body Slam. I really want to save my Hakamo as well, so I'm actually gonna try to switch here, but my timer wasn't up, and I allowed him to get to another body slam without getting off any of my 2 Brick Breaks, which is just devastating. Absolutely devastating. They have a Grollo on the back. 2 shield, Razor Leafer. Definitely not ideal, but it should be kind of fine. Charjabug does resist these Razor Leafs, and I can get off a couple crunches here. We get off the first, it gets shielded. No debuff, of course. We throw another crunch. Hopefully it gets shielded again and I get a debuff, but no debuff, no shield. If I get another shield here though, I should be looking pretty good, especially if I get the debuff, because then a body slam will definitely knock out. But what do you know, we don't get a debuff. Again, switch into the Vigoroth right now, and hopefully Vigoroth will be able to eat all of these moves. Just a body slam first. We get to another body slam here on the CMB tie, which is huge. Hopefully this knocks out the Grotto. It does, and in comes the Laron. We take it out, and even though I played that matchup terribly, we win the game. GG's. So that was it for today. If you already have a Charjabug build or you have the resource to build one, I highly recommend you try it out here. It's a lot of fun, especially in a lot of lead situations. You did see me lead into quite a lot of dragons here, which isn't very great, of course, but it's a bit deceptive. I left in a lot of the dragon leads because those were just the most interesting matchups. But I did end up facing like a lot of great leads as well, which I just left out because in general, they are easy matchups to play. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See you next one. Good luck with your battle shares.